Edgar Lawrence E.L. Doctorow was an American author, editor, and professor, best known internationally for his works of historical fiction. He has been described as one of the most important American novelists of the 20th century. He wrote 12 novels, 3 volumes of short fiction and a stage drama. They included the award-winning novels Ragtime, Billy Bathgate, and The March. These, like many of his other works, placed fictional characters in recognizable historical contexts, with known historical figures, and often used different narrative styles. His stories were recognized for their originality and versatility, and Doctorow was praised for his audacity and imagination. A number of Doctorow's novels were also adapted for the screen, including Welcome to Hard Times, with Henry Fonda, Daniel, starring Timothy Hutton, and Billy Bathgate starring Dustin Hoffman. His most notable adaptations were for the film, Ragtime, and the Broadway musical of the same name, which won 4 Tony Awards. Doctorow was the recipient of numerous writing awards, including the National Book Critics Circle Award for Ragtime, National Book Critics Circle Award for Billy Bathgate, National Book Critics Circle Award for The March, and the American Academy of Arts and Letters Gold Medal for Fiction. President Barack Obama called him one of America's greatest novelists. Early life: Doctorow was born in the Bronx, the son of Rose and David Richard Doctorow, second-generation Americans of Russian Jewish extraction who named him after Edgar Allan Poe. His father ran a small music shop. He attended city public grade schools and the Bronx High School of Science where, surrounded by mathematically gifted children, he fled to the office of the school literary magazine, Dynamo, which published his first literary effort. He then enrolled in a journalism class to increase his opportunities to write. Doctorow attended Kenyon College in Ohio, where he studied with the poet and new critic John Crow Ransom, acted in college theater productions and majored in philosophy. While at Kenyon College, Doctorow joined the Middle Kenyon Association, and he became friends with fellow student and future historian Richard H. Collin. After graduating with honors in 1952, he completed a year of graduate work in English drama at Columbia University before being drafted into the United States Army. He served as a corporal in the Signal Corps, in Germany 1954–55 during the Allied occupation. He returned to New York after his military service and took a job as a reader for a motion picture company, where he said he had to read so many westerns that he was inspired to write what became his first novel, Welcome to Hard Times. He began it as a parody of Western fiction, but it evolved to be a serious reclamation of the genre before he was finished. It was published to positive reviews in 1960, with Wirt Williams of the New York Times describing it as taut and dramatic, exciting and successfully symbolic. When asked how he decided to become a writer, he said, "I was a child who read everything I could get my hands on. Eventually, I asked of a story not only what was to happen next, but how is this done? How am I made to live from words on a page? And so I became a writer." Career. To support his family, Doctorow spent 9 years as a book editor, first at NAL working with Ian Fleming and Ayn Rand among others. And from 1964, as editor-in-chief at Dial Press, publishing work by James Baldwin, Norman Mailer, Ernest J. Gaines, and William Kennedy, among others. In 1969, Doctorow left publishing to pursue a writing career. He accepted a position as visiting writer at the University of California, Irvine, where he completed the Book of Daniel, a freely fictionalized consideration of the trial and execution of Julius and Ethel Rosenberg for giving nuclear secrets to the Soviet Union during the Cold War. It was widely acclaimed, called a masterpiece by The Guardian, and said by the New York Times to launch the author into the first rank of American writers according to Christopher Lehman hoped. Doctorow's next book, written in his home in New Rochelle, New York, was Ragtime, later named one of the 100 best novels of the 20th century by the Modern Library editorial board. His subsequent work includes the award-winning novels World's Fair, Billy Bathgate, and The March, as well as several volumes of essays and short fiction. Novelist J. Paranai is impressed by Doctorow's skill at writing fictionalized history in a unique style, a kind of detached but arresting presentation of history that mingled real characters with fictional ones in ways that became his signature manner. In Ragtime, for example, he arranges the story to include Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung sharing a ride at Coney Island, or a setting with Henry Ford and J.P. Morgan. Despite the immense research Doctorow needed to create stories based on real events and real characters, reviewer John Brooks notes that they were nevertheless alive enough never to smell the research in old newspaper files that they must have required. Doctorow demonstrated in most of his novels that the past is very much alive, but that it's not easily accessed, writes Parini. We tell and retell stories, and these stories illuminate our daily lives. He showed us again and again that our past is our present, and that those not willing to grapple with what happened will be condemned to repeat its worst errors. Doctorow also taught at Sarah Lawrence College, the Yale School of Drama, the University of Utah, the University of California, Irvine, and Princeton University. He was the Loretta and Lewis Glucksman Professor of English and American Letters at New York University. In 2001 he donated his papers to the Fales Library of New York University. The library's director, Marvin Taylor, said Doctorow was one of the most important American novelists of the 20th century. Personal life and death. In 1954, Doctorow married fellow Columbia University student Helen Esther Setzer while serving in the U.S. Army in West Germany. The couple had 3 children, Richard, Jenny, and Caroline. Doctorow was a heavy smoker. He died of lung cancer on July 21, 2015, aged 84, in Manhattan. Awards and honors. 1975, National Book Critics Circle Award for Ragtime, 1986, National Book Award for World's Fair, 1989, Edith Wharton's Citation of Merit for Fiction, 1990, National Book Critics Circle Award for Billy Bathgate, 1990, Penn Faulkner Award for Billy Bathgate, 1990, William Dean Howells Medal for Billy Bathgate, 1998, National Humanities Medal from the National Endowment for the Humanities, 1998, Peggy V. Helmerich Distinguished Author Award from the Tulsa Library Trust, 2005, National Book Critics Circle Award for the March 2006. Penn Faulkner Award for the March 2012, inducted into the New York State Writers Hall of Fame, 2012, Penn Saul Bellow Award for Achievement in American Fiction, 2013, Medal for Distinguished Contribution to American Letters from the National Book Foundation, 2013, American Academy of Arts and Letters Gold Medal for Fiction, 2014, Library of Congress Prize for American Fiction. Works. Novels 1960. Welcome to Hard Times, a Euro-adapted as the 1967 film Welcome to Hard Times, 1966, Big as Life, 1971, The Book of Daniel, a Euro-historical fiction about Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, a Euro-adapted as the 1983 film Daniel, 1975, Ragtime, a Euro-adapted as the 1981 film Ragtime and the 1998 Broadway musical Ragtime, 1980, Loon Lake, 1985. World's Fair, 1989, Billy Bathgate, a Euro-adapted as the 1991 film Billy Bathgate, 1994, The Waterworks, 2000, City of God, 2005, The March 2009, Homer and Langley, 2014, Andrew's Brain. Short story collections 1984, Lives of the Poets, 6 stories and a novella, 2004, Sweetland Stories, a Euro, The New York Times Notable Book, 2011, All the Time in the World, New and Selected Stories. Plays 1978, Drinks Before Dinner. Other 1982, American Anthem, 1993, Jack London, Hemingway and the Constitution, 2003, Reporting the Universe, Harvard University Press, 2006, Creationists, 2008, Wakefield, The New Yorker, January 14, 2008, 2012, Unexceptionalism, a Primer, The New York Times, April 28, 2012. See also. References. Further reading, Aaron Award, Marie. E. L. Doctorow. Washington Post. p. X6. Baba, Miniko. The Young Gangster as Mythic American Hero, E.L. Doctorow Euro Unregistered Trademark S. Billy Bathgate. Varieties of Ethnic Criticism, 18, 33 Euro 46 doi, 10.2307/467932. Bloom, Harold, ed. E.L. Doctorow. Chelsea House. ISBN 9780791064511. E.L. Doctorow Euro Unregistered Trademark S. Ragtime. Bloom's Modern Critical Interpretations 2001. ISBN 9780791063439. Fowler, Douglas. Understanding E.L. Doctorow. University of South Carolina. Jurges, Samby The New Covenant, Jewish Writers and the American Idea. University of North Carolina Press. Harter, Carol C. Thompson, James R. E.L. Doctorow. Gale Group. Henry, Matthew A. Problematized Narratives, History as Friction in E.L. Doctorow Euro Unregistered Trademark S. Billy Bathgate. Critique Magazine. Jameson, Frederick Postmodernism, or, The Cultural Logic of Late Capitalism. Duke University Press. Leonard, John. The Prophet. The New York Review of Books. Levine, Paul. E.L. Doctorow. New York, Methuen. Mattison, Stephen. Why Not Say What Happened, E.L. Doctorow Euro Unregistered Trademark S. Lives of the Poets. Critique. McGowan, Todd. In This Way He Lost Everything, The Price of Satisfaction in E.L. Doctorow's World Euro Unregistered Trademark S. Fair. Critique 42. Miller, Anne V. Through a Glass Clearly, Vision the Structure in E.L. Doctorow's Willie. Studies in Short Fiction. Morgenstern, Naomi. The Primal Scene in the Public Domain, E.L. Doctorow's The Book of Daniel. Studies in the Novel 35. Morris, Christopher D. Conversations with E.L. Doctorow. University of Mississippi Press. Morris, Christopher D. Models of Misrepresentation, on the Fiction of E.L. Doctorow. University of Mississippi Press. Porsche, Michael Der Mieter Western, Study in Zoo E.L. Doctorow, Thomas Berger and Larry McMurtry. Verlag die Blaujuhl. Pospisil, Thomas. The Progressive Era in American Historical Fiction, John Dos Passos Euro Unregistered Trademark The 42nd Parallel and E.L. Doctorow Euro Unregistered Trademark S. Ragtime. No, Mazarikova Univisitor. Ramsey, Joseph G. The Limits of Optimism, E.L. Doctorow and the American Left Counterpunch http, www.counterpunch.org 07 The Limits of Optimism E.L. Doctorow and the American Left / Rasmussen, Eric Dean. E.L. Doctorow's Vicious Eroticism, Dangerous Effect in the Book of Daniel. Impaloca 18, 190 Euro 219. Shaw, Patrick W. The Modern American Novel of Violence. Whiston Press. Siegel, Ben. Critical Essays on E.L. Doctorow. G. K. Hall and Company. Tokachik, Michelle M. E.L. Doctorow, An Annotated Bibliography. Garland Reference Library of the Humanities. Tokachik, Michelle M. E.L. Doctorow Euro Unregistered Trademark S. Skeptical Commitment. Peter Lang. Trenner, Richard E.L. Doctorow, Essays and Conversations. Ontario Review Press. Williams, John. Fiction as False Document, The Reception of E.L. Doctorow in the Postmodern Age. Camden House. External links, The Limits of Optimism, E.L. Doctorow and the American Left by Joseph G. Ramsey http, www.counterpunch.org 07 The Limits of Optimism E.L. Doctorow and the American Left / Official website, E.L. Doctorow at the Internet Movie Database, Guide to the E.L. Doctorow Papers. Fales Library and Special Collections, NYU. Plimpton, George. E.L. Doctorow, The Art of Fiction. The Paris Review 94. Billy Bathgate discussion with E.L. Doctorow. Gotham Gazette. November 30, 2004. Book reviews Rafferty, Terence. Andrew's Brain. NY Times. Bean, Eric Allon. Andrew's Brain. Chicago Tribune. Cooper, David. Andrew's Brain. NY Journal of Books. Retrieved July 21, 2015. McAlpin, Hella, You Might Need to Be a Scientist to Understand Andrew's Brain, Books, KCRW Bookworm Interviews, Audio, with Michael Silverblatt, October 1994, July 1997, May 2000, July 2004, August 2009.